Alright, I know I'm a little bit later than most when it comes to making a video on this particular topic, but I wanted to get more time playing as and against Sadako, really trying out her new rework and her changes and trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, what is a problem, what isn't, and for the most part, I don't think she's a problem, at least not as big of a problem as a lot of people are making her out to be. I think her base kit and her base playstyle is actually fine. I don't really see any issues with it. I think she has as much counterplay as most other killers, in fact, maybe more in some degrees. However, she has her problems, both good and bad, and both nerfs and buffs that I think should happen. So let's start with add-ons. For those that don't know, one of the biggest complaints about new Sadako is that she can condemn people too easily. At least that's the idea behind the complaint, but I don't know if Basekit Sadako really has that problem, or if it's because most Sadakos are running either one or the other or both of these add-ons, Eerie Tape and Mother's Comb. These two add-ons promote a very easy-to-play condemned style that really doesn't take that much effort and makes it very miserable to deal with as Survivor. Mother's Comb provides way too much information to the Sadako player, particularly with the loud noise notification of them grabbing or putting in a tape. It gives them so much information about where someone is and where they're going with a tape that you can always cut them off at that TV and get a free hit in, keep condemning them, keep teleporting ahead of them so they never have an opportunity to get that tape in. I think it's way too much information. It takes what normally would be a guessing game and having to predict and mind game survivors and try to guess where they're going to go to just flat out knowing where they're going to go. It allows you to play in a very dickish way with just tunneling someone out with condemned very easily and making sure they can never grab a tape, never put in a tape, etc., keep getting condemned hits, and I just don't think that kind of information should be provided to you like that. I feel like it should be something that you can guess, you can predict, you can mind game, you can have aura reading to figure out, for Christ's sake. But having that free information built into an add-on allows way too easy of access for forcing somebody to be condemned and making sure they are miserable the entire way through, not allowing them to counterplay your power. I don't like that. The Iridescent Tape add-on also creates a big problem in terms of that in a different way, and if you combine these two, it makes it horrible for all survivors in the match, and you will pretty much guarantee condemn them non-stop and cause them to absolutely hate their experience. Iridescent Tape makes it to where it's like old Sadako, where when you grab a tape, there is only one TV you can put that tape in. With Reworked Sadako, now it allows you to put a tape into pretty much any TV and shows their aura when you get close to them, so it allows for a lot more ease of access, counterplay, and dealing with it way faster, which I think is fair. But Eerie Tape makes it to where there's only one TV. It is way more time consuming, allows for way easier tunneling and making sure they never get to their TV. And if you have the information of where they're going, which if you combine it with Mother's Comb, or you just generally know which direction they're headed, then you can always cut them off. And if you can figure out which TV they have, they will never be able to deal with your condemned. They will never be able to get you off their back. I do not like these two add-ons in particular, and I think these two add-ons are the source of a lot of pain for people dealing with Sadako. I think one provides way too much information, the other provides way little options for dealing with the power, and either both combined or even on their own combined with other add-ons makes it kind of miserable to deal with her. Now, before I address another point, I do think this is a point in itself, but it's a little bit harder to hear. There are still a lot of people that do not play against Sadako correctly. Now, with those two add-ons, it's a lot more difficult too. I can't really say much on that. But even just Basekit Sadako, when I'm playing without those two add-ons, I still see people playing so incorrectly. In the first day or two, it was really bad. No one ever grabbed tapes. But recently, people have started to get the hang of it, and I've struggled a lot more with her recently because people have figured out the trick. And the trick really is just grab a tape, hold on to it, and the only way you get condemned is if you get hit. You grab another tape after that, you get rid of some of your condemned if you have time, you hold on to another tape, and you just keep doing that cycle. You always try to have a tape on you or be getting rid of your condemned. That's how you want to play it. You can't just ignore the power like before, and a lot of people have been trying to do that and still try to do that. I'm sure it'll be a learning experience, but as of this moment, there's still not a whole lot of people playing it correctly. And this isn't meant to be a dig at anyone, because the game never even tells you about the Sadako changes. Anyone that's a casual player that doesn't keep up with this kind of thing or read patch notes and just sees that Nicolas Cage got added, they're not really going to put two and two together. They're just going to play against Sadako like they used to. Then they're going to get to 6 condemned stacks in about a minute and wonder what the hell's going on. I can't really blame people for not knowing how to play against her because there's not really anything that tells you. So the average player is going to play like they used to, get up to 6 condemn stacks super fast, start to panic, and by the time that they're trying to get to a TV, she teleports, boom, they're condemned and they're dead, and Sadako OP. I think that's a big reason behind a lot of the problems and frustrations with new Sadako in solo queue and otherwise. There's not really anything to let you know this kind of stuff as a casual player. Which kind of leads me to the part about her base kit, because I know I said for the most part it's good, but I do think for the average player, a Sadako that's trying to force condemned on everybody has a bit too easy of a time. If you're playing normally, just getting condemned is normal slowdown, it's okay. It's actually not that bad. It's enough for people to manage their tapes and deal with it on a normal basis. But if you're just trying to teleport around and force it as much as possible, keep people from getting to their TVs, it does become a little too easy to pull off, I believe. Now, if you're grabbing tapes, like I said before, it's not that big of a hassle, but not a whole lot of people know that yet. And even then, sometimes a lot of the TVs are turned off and you don't have a whole lot of options. So my idea for her base kit is to focus more on giving her a lot more in chase and mobility, but bringing back the condemned a little bit, enough to be slowdown and be a threat still, but not enough to just force people into condemned a couple minutes into the match. As well as that, the idea is to give people a little bit more options for counterplay where the TVs aren't turned off all the time. So, what are the ideas for this? One of the ideas is to make the brown videotape add-on base kit, where it only delivers half a stack of condemned when you teleport instead of 3/4 of a stack, and on top of that, when you project the TVs come back 10 seconds sooner. So if you're teleporting around the map a whole lot, you're not getting condemned as fast. It's more so slowdown. It's more so a build up to where, hey, you do have to deal with the killer's power eventually. And on top of that, with the extra projection cooldown, you now can teleport around a lot more in a lot more spots for more map pressure, but it also allows for more counterplay and a lot more options for it in terms of grabbing tapes out of TVs because the TVs come back sooner. So I think that would help with the feeling of just nothing you can do about condemned strategies on top of dealing with eerie tape and Mother's Come. I think that change would allow there to be pressure with condemned and allow it to be a threat where you have to deal with it, but also allow for a bit more counterplay and a little bit more time to deal with it. However, at the base of it, Sadako is still just not a good chase killer. She's an M1 killer, and on top of that, she's not a great stealth killer either. I've heard a couple people say that she's a good stealth killer, but she's the only stealth killer to my knowledge that has a lullaby, and not only a lullaby, but a directional lullaby. You can hear the direction she's coming from. So her stealth for players that are paying attention is not that great. So with her condemn being tuned down, with there being more TVs available to deal with the tapes, and with there being the eerie tape add-on and the Mother's Come information add-on being gone, she needs a little bit more to actually get downs, get hooks, and deal more pressure in other ways than just condemned. The first thing is, I think one of two things should happen. Either she is able to go through pallets and breakable walls while she's demanifested, or the slowdown that she gets when she starts to manifest should be removed. I personally think the option of going through pallets and breakable walls is a lot more of an interesting change and allows for a little bit more interaction, but they're still being able to deal with it because of the manifest slowdown. If you remove both of them, should be too complicated to deal with and would be very annoying. Another change that I'd make is adding part of the Bloody Fingernails add-on into her base kit. Not make it fully base kit, but add about 20 to 30% of her add-on into the base kit and leave the rest for the green add-on, maybe change the rarity of it and bump another add-on up. But I do think that her ability to project is very, very televised, pun intended. So making the speed that she gets coming out of a TV last a little bit longer base kit would help her catch up to people who run early and are smart about it. And I think the last thing is bumping up her stealth just a little bit. Either move the directional sound to where the sound is in all directions while you're in her lullaby, and on top of that, you can make it to where she's invisible for longer while she's demanifested. I think with these changes, it would bump up her map mobility, bump up her pressure, bump up her chase ability, but make it to where her slowdown with Condemned and the Condemned playstyle is not nearly as viable and is a lot more complicated to pull off, especially on players that know what they're doing. It could give her interesting mind games that no other killer has, where they can go through pallets, where they can go through breakable walls, and it would allow for some interesting tricks and mind games and chase that no other killer allows for, as well as the fact of having a little bit more speed coming out of TVs, more options for TVs, while allowing for more more options for counterplaying her power and getting rid of the slowdown for survivors, and so she can have more information dealing with the add-ons. Whew, that was a lot. I've been playing a lot of Sadako, been trying out different combos and playstyles with her, try to narrow down my pain points on what a lot of people are feeling with new Sadako, and trying to play against her as much as possible. Not a whole lot of people have been playing her, but I've been trying to experience what it's like to deal with, and I can understand some of the frustrations for sure. So let me know what you think of my fixes. Are they really, really fucking stupid? I'm sure the YouTube comments will go ahead and let me know that. But let me know if you agree with them. Let me know if you think it's a good idea. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you don't. We can have a good discussion about it in the YouTube comments, or you could call me a fucking idiot and we could just leave it there. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for listening to my ideas for new Reworked Sadako and what I think of her, my problems with her, what everyone else's problems with her are. And yeah, it was a pretty lengthy video, huh? All right, see you later. Bye-bye.